Somewhere in the world, right now, someone just sneezed. Without pausing to think, the person nearest to them said two small words, "Bless you." It happened so automatically that neither gave it a second thought. Yet this brief exchange, repeated billions of times daily across nearly every language on Earth, carries the echo of a fear older than most religions and empires we know today. Long before any formal explanation existed, ancient peoples across vastly different parts of the world agreed on one unsettling idea. Something more than air was leaving the body during a sneeze. Some traditions imagined the soul as a kind of breath, able to slip free through the nose in an unguarded instant. Others held the opposite fear, that a sneeze was a door swinging open for something hostile to rush in. In parts of southern Africa, some traditional beliefs described a sneeze as a spirit entering the body. Among the Zulu people, one recorded tradition held that a sneezer should respond by declaring themselves blessed, since an ancestral spirit had just made its presence known. Across unconnected regions with no shared language, the same instinct kept resurfacing. In Homer's Odyssey, a sudden sneeze from her son is treated by Penelope as a favorable sign from the gods, arriving at exactly the moment she needed one. Ancient writers kept recording it. Around 400 years before the Common Era, the Greek historian Xenophon described a soldier sneezing mid-speech, and the men around him treated it as a sign from the gods. The philosopher Aristotle went even further, noting that people regarded a sneeze as something sacred, while an ordinary cough drew no such reverence at all. A sneeze, in this world, was not noise, it was punctuation from the divine. The word blessing carried a long history before it ever attached to a sneeze. In the Hebrew Bible, formally blessing another person was already a serious act of goodwill, expressed in the Book of Numbers, where a priestly blessing calls on the divine to protect someone by name. When this language was eventually pointed at a sneeze, people were reaching for an old, familiar formula, not inventing something new. By medieval Europe, the fear had sharpened. One belief held that the heart briefly stopped during a sneeze, and a spoken blessing coaxed it back into rhythm. Another imagined the soul forced out through the nostrils, leaving the body defenseless for a few seconds. Historians are careful here. There is no reliable contemporary record of ordinary medieval people describing sneezing this way. This same skepticism is not new either. As early as the 17th century, the English scholar Sir Thomas Browne examined the popular plague origin story in his writings on common errors and found no solid evidence to support it. Much of what survives comes from later retellings and folklore. Still, that this explanation persisted for centuries says something about how naturally the mind reaches for meaning in the body's involuntary moments. The version most repeated today takes us to Rome, in the final years of the 6th century, during the aftermath of the Justinianic plague. In 590, an outbreak tore through the city, and Gregory I became pope. According to a tradition retold for over 1,000 years, Gregory noticed sneezing often marked the plague's earliest stage, and urged that anyone who heard one should immediately offer a short prayer for protection. This cannot be confirmed with certainty. No surviving document shows Gregory personally using this phrase. What is known is that he led public prayers and processions during the plague. In fact, the Roman writer Pliny the Elder had already described a nearly identical custom more than 500 years earlier, noting that even the notoriously unsociable Emperor Tiberius insisted on a spoken acknowledgement whenever anyone near him sneezed. The detailed sneezing story seems to have crystallized later, hardening through retelling. Whether or not Gregory spoke those words himself, this period marks when a blessing became permanently attached to the act of sneezing. The custom spread along medieval trade routes and pilgrimage paths. By the 8th century, saying some version of "God bless you" after a sneeze had become ordinary etiquette across the Christian world, repeated by people who never wondered where it came from. What makes this ritual remarkable is how many independent variations exist worldwide. German speakers developed Gesundheit, simply meaning health. Spanish speakers say salud. In several Latin American countries, a playful escalation developed as well, where a second sneeze in a row earns a wish for wealth, and a third earns a wish for love. Irish Gaelic offers sláinte. In Bengali, traditional responses invoke long life directly. Each phrase arrived at the same instinct through a different cultural route. A separate tradition developed in the Islamic world, following sayings attributed to the Prophet Muhammad. A person who sneezes praises God, and those nearby respond with a wish for mercy. It developed through an entirely separate path, yet rests on the same instinct. A sneeze deserves words, not silence. This instinct did not spread evenly. In several East Asian traditions, a sneeze can pass without any expected reply, treated as a minor interruption. This shows the custom was never a universal law of human behavior, but one cultural response among several, shaped by anxieties that never took root everywhere. The phrase took another turn later. Between the mid-19th century and the years before the First World War, German immigrants brought Gesundheit into American vocabulary, used almost interchangeably with the older English phrase. Its popularity dimmed during the two world wars, when anything German became unwelcome, but the word never disappeared, and later returned to common use. Modern science offers a far less mysterious account. Sensory nerves in the nose detect an irritant and signal the brainstem, triggering a fraction of a second coordinated muscle contraction that forces air out at speed. It is a defensive reflex, nothing more. Nothing here about a departing soul or a stopping heart. Yet this same explosive moment was, for most of human history, a genuine mystery unsettling enough that entire civilizations built lasting rituals around it. Today, almost none of the original fear survives. Few people saying bless you worry about a departing soul or an evil spirit finding an opening. The word God has often quietly dropped away, leaving a shortened, secular version. What remains is simple courtesy, a small acknowledgement that another person's body just did something involuntary in front of you. Yet the habit persists with a stubbornness beyond politeness. People who could not name a single detail about Pope Gregory or the plague still instinctively offer this blessing throughout their lives. Silence after a sneeze still feels faintly uncomfortable, though the original reason for filling it vanished over 1,000 years ago. The fear that built the habit is gone. The habit itself never left. It simply outlived the belief that created it, carried forward by quiet repetition. What this small exchange reveals is how humans carry the past forward without realizing it. We don't need to believe in a departing soul to keep saying these words today. The gesture has become something else entirely. A small act of attention passed between two people, its meaning now almost unrelated to why it began. Tomorrow, someone will sneeze again, and someone nearby will answer without a second thought, carrying forward a fragment of Rome, of ancient Greece, and of half-forgotten medieval fear, tucked inside two ordinary words most people will never stop to question.